Hey folks, so I'm gonna give you a little video tutorial here about how to find the most relevant literature in a new subfield or new topic area or new question that you're addressing. And I kind of giving you a comprehensive approach to doing that using Google Scholar. So you're gonna want to go step one here, you're going to want to go through the college's library website to access Google Scholar. Going this route provides more access to full article PDFs because sometimes it's like a proxied link to get you into Google Scholar. So, just search from the library, then go into databases, Google Scholar. Great. So we're in the Google Scholar, and and take that, make a few new tabs to give yourself some space as we start to populate those tabs with different articles. So the second step is you're going to search with keywords relevant to your new topic, question, or subfield. For this example, I'm going to pretend that I'm doing a question on habitat selection of dragonfly larvae and adults. Say I looked at population abundance in a stream nearby, looked at it in a riparian corridor and trying to figure out through all the different variables I collected what would maybe be controlling habitat selection. And so that's my question. I want to figure out what other people have done relevant to this question in the past. So I type that into Google Scholar. This is what I get back. Then I would suggest your next step, because you're all familiar with how to type in keywords. These get a little more specific to how to really use Google Scholar well in combination with different articles and their reference lists to really get a comprehensive list relatively fast of some of the most relevant articles that are out there. So you're going to want to follow these next 7-8 steps pretty closely. I'm going to walk through them now. So number 3, find a somewhat relevant article by reading titles only, or maybe skimming just abstracts. Again, somewhat relevant doesn't have to be the most amazing thing, but has to be trying to be kind of close to what you're looking at. Someone who did something kind of similar or something just generally related. And we'll see how we can zoom it in much farther as we move ahead here. So once you find that article, you're going to click the cited by button for the more recent and relevant articles that cited the one that you feel like is relatively related. So my question is looking at what's controlling where dragonflies are in a riparian setting. Let's see, how can dragonflies discern bright and dark waters from a distance? No, not really useful to what I'm trying to do. Let's see, interspecific competition and habitat selection by the riverine dragonfly, and then a species of dragonfly there. Well, that's pretty related. It's someone studying what type of dragonfly and what's controlling its habitat, and why it's living where it's living. Great. So I want to, instead of clicking on the article directly, or if you wanted more clarity, you could look through the abstract, but best to just go right into the cited by. And so you can see that since this article was written back in 1996, there's probably people that have cited this, that have done more recent things, more relevant, and might also have more comprehensive list of references that are more recent. So now I have a list of everything that was cited by that article. And so what I want to do, go to my next step, I say, okay, skim this new list to find a recent article that is in your general topic question subfield. Okay, so this is everything since 1996, but let's do a custom range, let's say the last 15 years. Great. Okay, so now I have a list of articles from the last 15 years. And so now I have recent articles that are relatively related to my topic area. And I know that these articles now are gonna, hopefully in their introduction sections, include all sorts of recent articles that have been since the time they were published, or more recently, or sorry, or before. So I'm gonna go into the step 5, skim, found a clicked cited by, found a recent article by changing the times there, so it's just the recent ones. You can choose different ranges, so you have a dozen or two to choose from. Then you want to try to open one of these recent articles as a full PDF, so you can go to the article's introduction and skim to find sentences in that introduction addressing the most relevant topics, questions, subfields for your question, and investigate the citations at the end of those relevant sentences. So this is where the skills really come in, and you maybe haven't done this approach to literature review before, but so now I have some recent articles that are generally related to what I'm looking at. I want to look through these. I can see which ones I have access to full PDFs via Marist or other sources. And I want to say, okay, let's see this first one, the distribution of dragonfly larvae in a South Carolina stream, relationships with sediment type, body size, and the presence of other larvae. Great. I was investigating sediment in these streams. We were measuring size of larvae that we were looking at, abundance of adults, looking at other aspects of the stream, like what's growing there, some vegetation characteristics, so on and so forth. So I have this data set. It's pretty related to this. I mean, I'm not in South Carolina, but did some similar things. And now I want to go into here and want to try to see if I can get access to the full article. Okay, great. Looks like I have the abstract, and then let's see if the PDF is gonna make me pay or if we have access to it. Often we have free access through the college. Great, gave me the full article there. So I'm gonna kind of go back, save my list here. I'm gonna say open link, a new tab. That way I kind of have this article saved now, and I have this full article to look through. And so now is where I'm going to start getting into some pretty detailed reading of the introduction to see what subtopic areas related to dragonflies are most relevant to me. And each sentence essentially provides you another subtopic area and a citation or two that are relevant to that subtopic. So, competition for resources, important factor. This is about competition, resources, interspecific competition, so between species, related to habitat selection. Let's see, water velocity and sediment type. So maybe if I measured water velocity, I want to look up the Eggers 2012. So click on that, takes you down to the reference list. See Eggers 2012. Can take that, and looks like it's a master's thesis. So it might be a little harder to find, but I'll just take it to Google Scholar, put it in a new tab. Oh, there we go. And that is it. So looks like at least I can get the abstract, not the whole thing. But I'm not going to spend time on that right now. I'm just going to keep populating some tabs with, I think, articles that are really relevant to what I'm doing. So I'm going to go back up to the abstract. Okay, so that was sediment type and velocity. Let's see, biological characteristics like emergent, floating, or submerged macrophytes. We did study macrophytes in my own study, so let's go to Remsburg and Turner, 2009. Okay, here we go. Aquatic and terrestrial drivers. Okay, get a new Google Scholar window, open there. Let's see if we can find that. Yep, there we go. Great, we have full text, awesome. And now I have the ability to keep going through the abstract like this and looking for these articles that seem recent and relevant. You know, but this one is on macrophytes in relation to dragonflies in a lake setting. And we can also then, since this one is 2009, you can also do the cited by and look for more recent articles that might be really relevant to what I'm doing. We can kind of go back to this initial list and keep working through that one as well. But if basically whenever you can find a really, really on the point, like on the nose article with what you're doing, make sure you look through the cited by list to see if there's anything, that's much more recent. And that might be not made quite as on the nose what you're doing, but will have more recent citations in their introduction so that you can continue to work through introductions sentence by sentence to pull out, to find these relevant articles. Let's go back to our list here of steps. So, look to the introduction, skim to find sentences addressing the most relevant, and investigate those citations. Okay, so then we save those highly relevant citations to a new tab in your web browser, which I just showed you, and you save directly. You can also save those directly to your Mendeley or Zotero library. I'll show you how to do that in a different video here. Then you're going to read the article abstracts, or for the most relevant, and for the most relevant articles, repeat steps 4 through 7. So, like I said, click on the cited by. Be like, okay, this one is all about substrate on dragonflies. I have my cited bys, and those don't get many closer. So this is probably the best one in here. And I'm gonna click on that, see if I can get, full text. Probably not cited by a lot because it's a master's thesis, but I could look through the abstract, see if it's relevant to what I want to do and spend my time in terms of reading further or not. Maybe look through the discussion, decide if I want to read it or what parts I want to read as I move ahead. You also might get lucky, and when you're looking through a list of cited bys, you might find a review article. So modeling the distribution of dragonflies, a review, or odonates being in their Latin form. So click on a review article. This one looks like we have full access to. Sometimes when you're at the publisher's website, the access doesn't come through. You can always go back to Google Scholar, and it looks like there's a PDF via ResearchGate. So you could say open link, a new tab. And it looks like that came through. Nice. So modeling the distribution of odonates, a review. So unlike a general research article, a review article is going to be essentially all introduction. The whole thing is really detailed sentences with a lot of citations after each one. So you could be looking through, controls on spatial coverage, modeling, just generally the value of odonates in an environment. If you wanted to find citations on that, and the same idea. You find they're a good assay of overall aquatic health. I'm going to look for this article, and great, I found it there. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to take that into a Google Scholar, and put that in there. Great. So we can get a PDF. Does size matter? The relationship between pond area and biodiversity. And so this is they're pretty popular one citation wise. And I might just search within the citations for review articles. Oh, found back the one I was just at. Makes sense. Oh, here's a review of surface flow of constructed environments and their influence on macroinvertebrates. Here's a review on urban settings. So again, use the cited by. You can also use the search within citing articles to help refine things if you have a lot that you're looking through. Great. So then you have a whole series of tabs of all these really highly relevant citations and articles. You can keep on repeating these steps in the cited bys until you keep on creating more and more tabs of the most really relevant ones. And then you want to continue until you've saturated your results in your topic question subfield. You know, for doing full-on research articles or research proposals, you know, I'm often spending a day or two in this process. So I'd suggest, you know, you're going to be spending quite most of your time kind of repeating through steps 4 to 7 and trying to find more and more relevant articles that are related to your work. And what saturation really means is you just continue to find the same articles eventually over and over again, and no new articles of high relevance are coming up. You'll always be finding new articles, but all the ones you're like, oh, this is like a perfect article. You'll have that feeling a bunch at the beginning, and eventually you'll get to the point where like, oh, yep, that's a great one, but I've already have that. Oh, that's a great one, but I already have that. Oh, that's a great one, but I already have it. So that's the idea of like saturation. And you know that you've kind of gone through it far enough. And this will happen faster if you can find a recent review article. Not always the case for every subfield or subtopic question that you're looking at, but you might be able to find one. And then finally, then you can actually go in and read, in quotes, the most relevant articles, in quotes, because really reading, I mean, just look over the key sections relevant to your work. Rarely will you read the whole thing. Sometimes you will, but mostly you're looking at, you know, okay, so I'm just using these articles for intros to find other articles, or I'm using this article to look at their findings, or this article to look at their methods, so on and so forth. And then create an annotated bibliography. Really good practice, because once you start getting 10, 20, 30, 40, you know, really great articles and tabs, you start having trouble keeping track of what each one talked about. So, you know, you have the citation, and then underneath the citation, you have, you know, 4, 5, 6 sentences that are not a short version of the abstract. That's not what an annotated bibliography in it. It should have how each highly relevant article can be used to frame or inform your paper or proposal that you're writing. And so what it's allowing you to do is then look back, you know, you do all this work to create this annotated bibliography, but then it's really easy to see, oh yeah, I need to incorporate this paper in this way, and this paper in this way, and this paper in this way. And you're just pulling out the information from the paper that is going to be the stuff that you're going to cite directly in the paper that you're writing. It's not going to be the whole paper. It's not going to just be a short version of the abstract. It's going to be a few sentences about exactly how you're going to use certain pieces of that paper in your own writing in citations. Great. So I hope this was helpful for folks. This is a skill that I've developed over the last decade of always working in kind of new interdisciplinary subfields, and how to really effectively use my time to get into a new area and understand how to kind of see what other people have done relative to the questions that I'm investigating or that I'm interested in writing a proposal for. So yeah, great. Let me know if you have any questions, and hope this is helpful.